Hello everybody and welcome to week 13. I hope you guys are doing well. Here's a picture of me. So, the good news in week 13 is that we do not have a real lesson this week. If you remember back to week 1, what I said at the time was that we were doing a full week 1 lesson, even though that's not customary, because I wanted us to have sort of a free week later in the semester that would give you guys a chance to catch up and to get some of the work done. And so that's this week. There's no lesson this week. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take a quick opportunity here just so we can do a few reminders and so that we can take a look at what we're going to be doing over the last 3 weeks. So by now, these are all of the assignments that you should be done. Now this week, in week 13, as I said, there's no new lesson. There's no new information. In fact, at this point in the semester, you guys have actually learned everything that you are going to learn in Comp 1007. With the time that's left, what we're doing is we're practicing those skills, we're applying them to our final assignments, and we'll be doing review. We'll be shoring up or strengthening some of these skills, but we're not actually doing any new information. So this week there's no lesson, but you should be, most importantly for this week, you should be finishing the outline. Now if you're unclear about what the outline assignment is or how to do it, that's what week 12 was all about. So make sure that you go over week 12 carefully and make sure to watch that video that's embedded in the very last slide. Now, you're going to post these outlines on Blackboard, and I'm going to do my very best to respond to them with my feedback as quickly as I can. I do want you guys to have that feedback so that you can work on the essay itself. You can move forward with that. So you're going to submit that outline this week. You probably are still working a little bit on your research. The bibliography that you guys did, that's not all your research. That was only 2 sources. And the expectation for the essay is anywhere between 3 and 5 sources. If they're shorter, if they're longer, you may only have 3. But this is a good way to approach it. You do half your research, then you start thinking a little bit about how am I going to actually organize this essay, what is my thesis going to be, and that can in turn help you fill in the gaps so that you know what you have to do to finish the research. You know specifically at that point what you're looking for because you have a much clearer idea of what the essay is going to be. Now, as well as working on the research and maybe starting writing your essay, you have an opportunity this week to get some bonus marks, to get 3% bonus as a way to help you make up for maybe any missing marks or if you had an assignment where you felt you didn't do as well. We're going to be doing a bonus exercise. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but that's something that has to be done this week. Now, when we get into week 14, weeks 14 and weeks 15, again, there's really no new lessons, but I will be doing a review lesson in week 14. I forgot to add that to this little box, but I will be posting week 14 review slides, and what those are going to do is help you complete your persuasive research essay. So reminders about things like APA, reminders about paragraph structure, some writing things. So the review will be very helpful for that research essay. But we do also have a final test. So with this class, as well as the persuasive research essay, we have a final test. The research essay is worth 20%. The final test is also worth 20%. And that makes up the final 40% of our grade. And so in week 14, I'll be posting those submission links and I will also be posting review slides. So that means that you have the next 3 weeks, really, 13, 14, and 15, to complete the final test, which I'll post in week 14, to submit your research essay, and I'll post the submission link for that in week 14. And you also have that time to submit any late assignments that you haven't submitted yet. And you can see I have some asterisks there, and I'll pick that up in a minute. But keep in mind, what I want to emphasize here, I've been pretty lenient with deadlines because I understand this is a strange semester, this is a strange time, you guys are busy and stressed sometimes. I'm happy to accept late assignments. But when it comes to these final assignments, they have to be submitted by the end of week 15 because that's the end of the semester. There's no more time. So make sure that you're on the ball with these assignments. Make sure that you're moving forward, getting the work done, because there's really no more time for extensions when it comes to this final stuff. I said that there was going to be a bonus exercise, which is worth 3%. Now, exercise is maybe not the right word, but the idea with this is that I want us to be able to help each other, for students to be able to help each other a little bit. And so what I'm encouraging you to do for bonus marks is to write a comment, give comments to other students in your class. And what you should do is read their post for week 3, see what their topic is, see what they're researching about and what they're trying to write about, and give them a little tip or a little suggestion. Specifically, it's really helpful if you happen to know a book or an article that you think would be helpful. That's the kind of thing that can be really great to share. And so just let them know, hey, have you read this? Have you thought about this? It may also be something a little bit more general, like, if someone was writing about climate change, maybe you were aware of certain impacts of climate change. Like, oh, did you hear about how, water is rising around Bangladesh and how that can have a big impact? But you're trying to contribute, you're trying to help them out a little bit, right? You're trying to say, oh, I know something about that. Hey, this might be helpful for you, and give them a little tip. Please make sure that the comments that you post are very polite, very considerate, very supportive, and keep in mind that this is their research subject. They are spending time with this, they are working on it, thinking about it. So we need to be respectful and not be a know-it-all and not be condescending, but just try to offer a little tip if we know one. So they don't have to be long; they could literally be one sentence. But each one of those comments will get you 1 bonus mark, and so you can comment on 3 other students and give 3 little tips for their research or 3 little suggestions for their research, and that'll be a max of 3% bonus. So I encourage you to do that. In particular, if you had to miss one of the quizzes or if you missed one of the discussion boards because, for whatever reason, maybe you got placed in the class late, that 3% is a really great way to make up that missing mark. Okay, now the other thing that I know you are all thinking about now and want to know more about, the final test. Now the research essay I'm not going to say very much more about right now because we're going to be doing those review slides in week 14 and because we've been talking about it a lot, we've been working on it a lot, so I'm not going to go over that too much right now. The final test, though, we haven't talked about. And so the final test is really just a multiple choice test. The research essay that you're doing tests your skills that we've been developing, your writing skills, your research skills, your critical analysis skills, your summary skills. You're bringing all of these skills that we've been developing to this assignment. So it's a way to test the abilities that you're developing. The test, on the other hand, is really just a test of knowledge. I want to know that you know what logos, pathos, and ethos mean. I want to know that you know what a topic sentence is and how a counter argument is different from a summary. So this final test is less stressful. It's not it's worth the same amount of percentages as the research essay, but it's definitely not as vigorous a test. Um, it's going to be mostly multiple choice, and so I think there's only a couple questions that are not multiple choice, and they're just short, like a couple word answers. There will be more review and more prep for this when we get to those week 14 review slides. But one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the answers for this test you'll be able to find in the week 14 review slides, because those slides are going to go over everything from the very beginning of the semester. But you won't be able to find all of the answers in the week 14 slides. So you still may want to do some studying of your own, looking back at some of the previous lessons. Now, the other thing that I suggest, the way I have these last 2 weeks set up, you have 2 weeks and you can do the research essay, you can submit the research essay, and you can complete the final test in whatever order you prefer. You can do the research essay first, then the test, or vice versa. But what I recommend is that you do the test first, because you're already working on the research essay, you're pretty far along, but if you do the test, it's going to be a good way to review some of the basic formal elements of the essay. So for example, if you do the test and you go through the review slides and you prep for it a little bit, there's going to be a couple questions on APA. And if you do the test first, you'll be more likely to not make a mistake on your reference page when you get to the research essay, right? So that's sort of why I recommend that. But again, you have total freedom to do these last two things in whatever order you want to do. Okay, final couple of things I want to say. First, I said that you can still submit late assignments that haven't been submitted yet. Now, the rule that I'm giving you here is that at this point, I'm only accepting assignments that came after reading week. So everything from the first half of the semester, from before intersession week, uh, you know, going back all the way to the persuasive paragraph, that is just a little too long ago for me to accept it now. I mean, we're talking about months and months now. So you can submit late assignments, but only the things that came after reading week. Now, for the counter argument and discussion board 3, those are late now. I will still accept them for grades. I want you to be able to get the grades, but I'm just not going to be able to invest the time to give you good feedback on the counter argument when I'm also, really trying to get these outlines turned around as quickly as I can. So the mini bibliography, if you haven't submitted that already, you should be submitting that very soon. The outline, you have this whole week to do. I encourage you to do it sooner rather than later so that you have a little bit more time to write the essay with your outline finished. And for both of those, I will be grading them as quickly as I can, and of course, I will also be commenting because they're not really late, they're on time. That 3% bonus that I mentioned, being able to, for grades, add a helpful post or a helpful comment on another student's post. I do have a deadline for that, and it's this week. You have to do that this week. And the reason why is that if we wait much longer than this week, your helpful tip is no longer going to be helpful because the research is going to be done, the essay is going to be, well on its way. So for this to actually be usable and helpful for other students, it's got to be this week.